I was 55 when it happened, and at that age, you think you've seen just about every kind of betrayal a family can offer. But nothing prepared me for the humiliation of scrolling through my phone one evening and seeing my name dragged through the mud by someone who should have been family. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, had been spreading lies about me online. Not petty gossip either. She posted on local community boards, Facebook groups, even sent private messages to people I'd known for decades. According to her, I was a cheat, a fraud, a man who had stolen from his own family. Each post was nastier than the last, and the comments beneath them, people I'd known since high school, were full of sneers and disbelief. At first I tried to ignore it. You don't feed a fire by throwing more wood on it. But the damage grew. People stopped returning my calls. My clients, small businesses I'd worked with for years, quietly canceled contracts. My reputation, built over decades of hard work, was crumbling in real time under her lies. Late one night, as I sat alone in my dimly lit kitchen, staring at my phone and feeling the weight of every rumor, a notification appeared on the screen. An email, from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "I know who's behind this." I hesitated before opening it, my gut tightening. Inside was a single message. "You don't know me, but I know her. And I know what she's hiding. Interested?" No name, no signature, just a string of numbers at the bottom, like a digital fingerprint. I stared at it, my heart pounding. In that moment, I had a choice. I could delete it, pretend it never came, keep trying to fight my sister-in-law's lies with silence. Or I could take a step into the unknown, risk everything to find out what this stranger knew. I didn't know then that clicking reply would change everything. That it would set me on a path not just of clearing my name, but of revenge so sharp and precise it would cut deeper than any lie she'd ever told. I took a breath, fingers trembling, and began to type. I didn't sleep that night. The email glared at me from the screen long after midnight, the words, "I know what she's hiding," circling my mind like vultures. Every time I thought about ignoring it, I remembered another contract I'd lost, another neighbor's glance that carried suspicion instead of warmth. Silence wasn't protecting me, it was burying me. By dawn, I couldn't resist any longer. I typed a cautious reply, "Who are you? What do you know?" The response came within minutes, as if the sender had been waiting. "Doesn't matter who I am. What matters is I can prove she's the liar, not you. I've been inside her accounts. I've seen what she's done, and I can show you. But nothing's free." My stomach turned. Whoever this was, they weren't just some good Samaritan, they were a hacker. The kind of person you usually pay to stay away from your life, not invite into it. Still, I kept reading. She's been keeping records. Fake conversations she made in your name. Screenshots she doctored. Even bank transfers that never existed. I have copies. I can give them to you, but you'll need to decide, do you want to clear your name, or do you want to destroy hers? I leaned back in my chair, my hands gripping the armrests. Clear my name, or destroy hers. The choice wasn't as simple as it looked. Clearing my name would give me back my reputation. Destroying hers, well, that would be justice. I typed again, slower this time. "How do I know you're not lying?" The reply was instant. Attached was a file. When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. There it was, a screenshot of her private messages to a friend, laughing about how gullible people were for believing her posts about me. "He deserves it," she had written. "He thinks he's better than us. Wait until everyone sees what I say next." I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Any hesitation I had vanished. For weeks she had poisoned my name, stripped me of dignity, and laughed while doing it. And now the proof sat in front of me, handed over by a ghost in the machine. I typed 3 words, "Show me everything." The files came in a single encrypted folder, locked behind a password the hacker sent separately. I hesitated before clicking, half afraid of what I'd find, half afraid of what I'd do with it once I saw. My finger hovered over the mouse for a long moment, then I opened it. Inside were dozens of screenshots, PDFs, and even audio recordings. Each one was a dagger. Fake email chains where she had forged my name, writing nasty things about family members. Photoshopped screenshots of bank statements showing me stealing money that never existed. Messages where she told her friends how fun it was to watch my life collapse. One folder was labeled drafts. When I opened it, my jaw tightened. These were posts she hadn't even published yet, new lies she was preparing to unleash. They were worse than the ones already out there, targeting not just me but my late wife, even my children. I sat there in the dim light of my kitchen, each new file making my blood boil hotter. This wasn't gossip. This was a campaign, calculated and deliberate, designed to break me down until nothing was left. A new message pinged. Now you see. She's been laughing at you this whole time. I can stop her. Shut her down permanently. But you need to decide what you want from me. I typed with shaking hands, what do you mean, shut her down permanently? The reply came back in seconds. I can wipe her accounts. Make it look like she vanished. Or I can go further. I can release everything she's written, all her dirty secrets, to everyone she knows. Friends, co-workers, family. She'll never recover. Your call. My heart pounded. For years I had lived by the principle that revenge only poisoned the one who sought it. But now, staring at proof of her cruelty, the idea of letting her taste the same humiliation she'd fed me felt less like poison and more like justice. I closed the laptop, my reflection staring back from the dark screen. I needed time to think, but I knew one thing already, the man I'd been before, the man who tolerated her lies in silence, was gone. This time, I would not sit quietly while someone tried to erase me. The next morning, I woke with the decision still gnawing at me. The hacker's offer lingered like smoke in the air, wipe her clean or expose her for what she was. Either way, my sister-in-law would pay. I brewed a pot of coffee, but the bitterness on my tongue wasn't from the drink. It was from memory, the way neighbors now avoided my eye, the way old friends stopped calling, the way potential clients had quietly backed out of deals. All because of her posts. She had stolen more than my reputation, she had stolen my dignity. When I opened my laptop again, another message was waiting. Tick-tock. She's drafting more lies. You saw the folder. If you don't act, she will. Attached was a screenshot timestamp just hours earlier. Another draft, uglier than the last, waiting to be unleashed. She hadn't slowed down. She was escalating. I typed a reply, my fingers heavy on the keys, do it. Expose her. The hacker's response came instantly. Understood. But know this, you can't walk it back. Once I hit send, her world burns. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. This was the point of no return. For a moment, doubt clawed at me. Was I really about to weaponize a faceless stranger to destroy a member of my own family? But then I thought of her laughter in those messages, her smug delight in watching me fall. Yes, I whispered to myself. Burn it. The cursor blinked on the screen, waiting for me to confirm. Finally, I typed the word that would tip the scales, proceed. A minute later, another notification appeared. It's done. I opened the link the hacker sent, and my breath caught. Her secrets were live, every forged message, every doctored screenshot, every cruel word, published on a dozen different platforms, traced back to her accounts. The very weapon she had used against me was now turned on her, sharper and deadlier. I shut the laptop and sat in the silence of my kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. I had made my choice, and there was no undoing it. Somewhere across town, my sister-in-law was about to wake up to a storm she had never imagined. And for the first time in months, I felt the faintest flicker of justice stirring in my chest. The fallout was immediate and merciless, like throwing a stone into a still pond and watching the ripples hit every shore. By 9 that morning my phone was a chorus of incoming calls and messages. Strangers messaged me with links, screenshots of her posts, screenshots of her private messages, archived pages from forums where she'd smeared me. People I hadn't heard from in years sent short, awkward apologies. A client whose work I'd been negotiating with called to say, quietly, that they preferred to pause until things settled. The town's chatter turned to a low, constant hum. Did you see what she posted? Did you see what she wrote? Only now the what was pointed at her. Across town, her world folded like cheap cardboard. The profiles she'd used to attack me were plastered with the evidence the hacker had released. Screenshots showed where she'd forged threads, audio clips captured her admitting, laughing, that she'd made up conversations to watch the show. People shared these files with a ferocity I hadn't expected. Overnight, reputation, the same fragile thing that had been stolen from me, was stripped from her. Then the calls started to come through from inside the family. My brother's voice was sharp with confusion, then anger. "What did you do?" he demanded before I had a chance to explain. "You know what this looks like." He was frantic not for me, but for his wife, for how this would reflect on him, on the family. I could hear the panic in his breathing, 2 people caught in a net they hadn't seen coming. I answered plainly. I cleared my name. I didn't explain the hacker, or the screenshots, or the moment I hit proceed. I told him what I had to, that lies had been spread, that I had evidence, and that I'd acted to stop the bleeding. There was silence on the line, a thin, sharp thing. He asked for proof. I offered to meet. He said he needed time. He said many things that boiled down to the same thing: family ties can be complicated when shame is involved. Her reaction, when it came, was furious and immediate. She deleted accounts in a panic, posted a rambling video that tried to paint herself as the victim of a coordinated smear, and messaged mutual friends, begging for support. The video did little good. People had already seen the receipts. Her boss called her in within the day. HR was blunt and businesslike. "We can't risk this on our team," they said. Within 48 hours she was on unpaid leave. What surprised me most wasn't the public damage, it was the private collapse. Her friends stopped returning texts. A woman I'd once considered a neighbor sent a message, "I had no idea. This is. I'm sorry." Her apology read like a bandage on a wound too deep to cover. My brother's children, my nieces and nephews, were pulled into hushed conversations about grown-up stuff. I imagined them hearing whispers on playgrounds and wondering why their mother's name was suddenly part of adult gossip. And yet even as her world crumbled, there were moments that pierced me. I heard, by way of a cousin, that she'd been on the phone, sobbing, not for reputation, but scared for what would happen to her marriage, to the life she'd built. Revenge has a way of doing that. It teaches the lesson it intends, then leaves you to look at the wreckage. That afternoon, the hacker messaged me again. "You wanted her exposed. She's exposed. Now decide, stop here, or pull the thread further." The cursor blinked on the screen like a question mark. I closed the laptop, heart thudding, and walked to the window. Below, people moved through their lives, some glancing up at their phones, others carrying groceries, children laughing on sidewalks. The town was the same and not the same. I had set a match to a long smoldering pile of lies, and the flames were licking the edges of everything I'd once taken for granted. What I hadn't expected was how quickly those flames would illuminate secrets I hadn't asked to see, secrets that might not stop with her. The next step, I realized, wouldn't just be about proving what she had done. It would be about confronting what else the light might reveal. There was a new message waiting, an anonymous screenshot, time-stamped late last night, of a private conversation she was having with someone whose name I didn't recognize. The preview line read, "He won't see this coming." My hand hovered over the mouse. My jaw set. The town had already learned the truth about her lies. Now it seemed there were deeper things still buried, things the hacker hinted at and I hadn't yet imagined. I hit reply. Show me the rest. By the time the hacker's next message came through, I thought I'd already seen everything. The screenshots, the doctored conversations, the fake statements, it was all damning. But this was different. This was darker. The file he sent wasn't a screenshot of a post or a fake bank slip. It was a private chat log, one she hadn't meant for anyone outside her circle to see. In it, she wasn't just talking about me, she was plotting. The conversation was with a man whose username I didn't recognize. The messages scrolled like poison down the screen. He'll never know what hit him. Don't worry, I'll make sure it looks real. Once his reputation's gone, the rest is easy. I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just cruelty anymore. It was conspiracy. She wasn't acting alone. I typed to the hacker, "Who is he?" The reply came fast, almost impatient. "Her friend. Maybe more. He's been helping her craft the lies, editing screenshots, amplifying her posts. I can dig deeper, but you'll need to tell me how far you want to go." I sat back in my chair, staring at the glow of the screen. Every file I opened was another nail in her coffin, but this? This was a coffin big enough to bury her and whoever this accomplice was. The hacker pressed again. "You hired me to expose her. But now you know she isn't working alone. So what's it going to be? Do we burn them both? Or just her?" I closed the laptop slowly, my reflection staring back at me in the dark screen. The house was silent, but my mind wasn't. My sister-in-law had already ruined my name, stolen my work, poisoned my family against me. Now I knew she had help, someone in the shadows, someone who thought they were untouchable. For the first time, the thought crossed my mind, maybe it wasn't enough just to clear my name. Maybe this had to go further. Maybe they both needed to feel the fire. I poured myself a drink, my hands steady now. The decision was forming, hard and cold as iron. They had started this war in the shadows. But I would decide how it ended. The next folder the hacker sent felt like stepping into a room and finding another body on the floor. It wasn't just messages anymore, there were invoices, drafts of edited images with timestamps, and a trail of deleted emails that had been quietly archived on a ghost account. Whoever this man was, he had done more than help, he'd been the architect. His name appeared in a metadata file, E. Mallory. A name I didn't recognize. A photo file followed, an old LinkedIn profile pic of a man in his 40s, buttoned-up shirt, the kind of bland smile people put on when they want to be trusted. His resume boasted digital marketing and content strategy for small businesses. Beneath it, an attached spreadsheet showed payments, small sums funneled through PayPal and a burner account, every deposit labeled with a shorthand, project, crisis. I felt like a detective working backward through someone else's life. The hacker had done the dirty work of connecting the dots, Mallory had edited screenshots, masked IP addresses, and amplified posts to targeted groups. He'd even coached my sister-in-law on wording to make allegations seem plausible. It was methodical, clinical, like watching a man who made a living fixing reputations now using his tools to break one. When I called my brother, I pretended not to know the name. "Have you ever heard of an Eve Mallory?" I asked, casual and careful. Silence on the other end, a stutter. "No." "Why?" "Just curious," I said. "Someone's been coordinating a campaign." He swallowed, then asked, "What campaign? Who told you that?" I let the question hang. He was defensive, protective. He was trying to buy time for the woman he loved. That tightening in his voice told me everything I needed to know. The hacker pressed, "Do you want names or the narrative?" "I can send both. I can send proof to his wife, his employer, his clients." The cursor blinked like a metronome. Each beat felt louder than the last. I didn't ask for names out of spite. I asked out of strategy. If Mallory's job was built on trust, then exposing the invoice trail and the IP mappings would make him untouchable in his own industry. People who sell credibility for a living can't survive when their own credibility becomes the product on display. So I told the hacker, send it to his employer. Send it to his partner. Send it where it will hurt, where it counts. I tried to be clinical about it. Decisions aren't emotional when they're tactical, but my hands shook when I hit send. The fallout arrived in a ripple. The hacker had included a package formatted for human consumption, a clean PDF with redacted personal data except where it mattered, a summary of evidence, and a polite note to Mallory's employer: please be advised this material has been authenticated by third-party forensics. It implicates your employee in a coordinated disinformation campaign. You may wish to investigate. The hacker was mercilessly efficient, his messages read like legal briefs dressed in plain English. Within 2 days Mallory's LinkedIn profile vanished. Within 4, his company, a boutique PR shop that specialized in crisis management, issued a terse statement: we are investigating allegations regarding one of our contractors. Within a week, 2 of his major clients had quietly ended contracts. A talent that once disguised itself as expertise was now unmasked as a mercenary operation. I didn't feel joy watching a man's livelihood collapse. What I felt was a hard, cold clarity. The world I'd lived in, people trading favors, reputations traded like currency, had teeth. They'd shown those teeth to me. Now the same mechanics worked in reverse. Then came the personal blow. A mutual contact, someone Mallory had ghosted years ago, sent me a private message: he's married. He's got kids. He's been careful, but I can tell you his wife saw the package. It's ugly, sir. The image that followed showed Mallory's partner sitting at a kitchen table, phone in hand, and crying. There was a lovelessness in that photo that stung in a way the public consequences did not. When Mallory finally reached out to me, 2 weeks after the first files dropped, his tone was brittle, apologetic. He asked for a meeting, a chance to explain, to plead ignorance. I told him to come to the Café on Elm at noon the next day. He showed up in a navy blazer, hair combed with care. Up close, he looked tired and smaller than his profile suggested. His handshake was perfunctory, his eyes darting. He began with the professional spiel: I did what I was paid to do. I didn't know how far it would go. But the spreadsheet spoke louder than excuses. He had been paid, and the payments matched the edits and the amplification logs. When he tried to blame money, debts, contracts, pressure, I listened. Men do desperate things for desperate reasons. But there is a line between desperation and cruelty, and Mallory had crossed it with both hands. Why her? I asked finally. Not for justification, there was none. For understanding. Why me? Why waste your talent on ruining someone else's life? He looked at me as though I'd asked the wrong question. Because it was a job. Because she told me the angle and sent the assets. Because the people who hired me don't ask questions. They only want outcomes. There it was, the truth of the trade: talent without ethics, sold to the highest whisper. I felt no satisfaction when the waiter interrupted with the check and Mallory realized he had less influence than he had thought. He left the cafe with his hands in his pockets, the sound of his shoes on the sidewalk small and ordinary. That night, my brother called. His voice was a knotted thing. He reached out to me, he admitted. Said he was sorry. Said he never meant to. His voice broke and was gone. I could hear the quiet collapse behind him, a man reconciling the woman he loved with the evidence on my screen. Exposing Mallory hadn't been about cruelty. It had been about cleaning a wound. But the wound dug deeper than one woman's lies. It revealed a marketplace of deceit where expertise becomes an instrument of harm. I had lit a match and watched the shadows in the workshop dart for cover. When I closed my laptop that night, I didn't celebrate. I walked to the window and watched the streetlights throw long yellow pools across the pavement. Somewhere down there, lives were unraveling because of choices made in secret. I thought of consequences, of the lessons that stick. I thought of the family dinner table, empty spaces and new hesitations, and I wondered whether truth, even when weaponized, could ever repair what lies had broken. It didn't take long for the damage to hit home. Within days of Mallory's collapse, the whispers reached my brother. He called me late one night, his voice low and ragged. "She's saying you set her up," he muttered. "That none of this is true, that you paid someone to fake everything. Is it true?" The accusation stung, though I expected it. "No," I said firmly. "The truth is what ruined her, not me. I just didn't let her bury me under it." Silence stretched across the line. I imagined him sitting in his darkened living room, head in his hands, torn between the wife he had built a life with and the brother who had just torn down her mask. "Do you have any idea what this has done to us?" he finally asked, his voice breaking. "Yes," I said quietly. "Do you have any idea what she did to me?" After that call, family gatherings dissolved. Invitations stopped. Cousins avoided choosing sides, but their silence was loud enough. Where once there had been laughter and shared meals, now there was a gulf, an unspoken fracture running through the family tree. And yet, even in the bitterness of it all, there was a grim satisfaction. For months she had painted me as the villain, convincing half the town I was a cheat and a thief. Now her lies were ashes, her accomplice exposed, her credibility destroyed. She had lost her job, her standing, and the respect of nearly everyone who had once believed her. One evening, as I walked down Main Street, an old friend stopped me. He put a hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm sorry I doubted you. I see it now. You were telling the truth all along." It wasn't joy I felt, it was vindication. Heavy, steady, undeniable. My sister-in-law had tried to erase me, but in the end, it was her reflection that had been erased from the mirror of the community. Still, as I unlocked my front door that night, I couldn't shake the weight pressing on me. Justice had been served, yes. But in its wake, I was left with something no hacker could fix, a family broken in two, and a brother who looked at me now as both victim and executioner. And I knew the hardest part was yet to come. It was bound to happen sooner or later. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the rooftops, there came a sharp knock on my door. When I opened it, my sister-in-law stood there, arms crossed, eyes blazing with fury. My brother lingered behind her, his expression unreadable, caught somewhere between anger and shame. "You think you've won," she spat before I could say a word. "You think you're clever, hiding behind some faceless hacker. But everyone will see through this. You ruined my life." I let her words hang in the air, heavy and hot. Then I spoke calmly. "No. You ruined your own life. I just stopped you from ruining mine." She took a step closer, jabbing her finger toward my chest. "Lies. You staged all of this. You think people believe you now? They'll turn on you again. They always do." My brother finally spoke, his voice low and strained. "Enough," he said to her. "I've seen the files. I've read your messages. You told him you'd make sure he never knew what hit him. How do you explain that?" Her face paled, but she recovered quickly, shaking her head. "Out of context. You don't understand." I looked at him, not her. She dragged my name through the mud for months. She laughed while clients left me, while friends turned away. And now you're standing here, asking me to pretend it didn't happen. I won't. He dropped his gaze, shoulders sagging. The truth had done its work. He knew it. She knew it. "Get off my porch," I said firmly. "This house, this name, neither belongs to you. You've taken enough from me." She glared at me one last time, her lips pressed into a thin line, then turned on her heel. My brother hesitated, his eyes meeting mine for a brief, painful second, before following her into the night. I closed the door and leaned against it, my chest tight. Revenge had given me justice, but at a cost. The lies were gone, my name restored, but so was the bond with my brother, severed clean. Through the window, I watched their car pull away, two shadows swallowed by the dark. For the first time in months, I felt safe in my own home again. But safety, I realized, was not the same as peace. And peace, I feared, might never return. Weeks passed. The firestorm that had once consumed my life finally died down. Her posts were gone, her accounts abandoned, her name whispered only in pity or contempt. I walked through town again without shame, meeting eyes that once looked away. People nodded, some even offered apologies, but I didn't need their words. The silence of their stares was enough, they knew the truth now. My business recovered slowly. Old clients returned, cautiously at first, then steadily. They'd been burned by her lies but were eager to rebuild. I worked with quiet focus, each contract another stone laid to repair what had been torn down. It wasn't about pride anymore. It was about proving, to myself as much as to them, that I could still stand. As for her, she vanished from public life. No more appearances at local events, no more cheerful posts online. The last I heard, she was working temp jobs, her reputation so scorched that no respectable employer wanted her near a keyboard. The friends who had once laughed with her in group chats now avoided her, unwilling to be tainted by association. But my brother, he stayed with her. He kept his distance from me, ashamed perhaps, or unwilling to face the truth in my eyes. When we crossed paths at a family funeral, we exchanged a nod but no words. The bond we'd shared as boys was gone, buried under months of betrayal and the bitter taste of revenge. Sometimes at night, when the house was quiet, I'd think about that hacker, the faceless voice who had handed me the weapons I needed. I never asked why he'd helped me, never knew what he gained. Maybe he hated liars. Maybe he just liked to watch the world burn. Either way, he had given me a choice, and I had made it. I didn't regret it. Not exactly. She had earned every ounce of the ruin she carried now. But I also knew that revenge, once lit, never goes out clean. It leaves embers smoldering in places you can't quite reach. My name was restored. My business survived. But my family was fractured, and some scars don't fade. Still, when I walked past the mirror each morning and saw my reflection looking back, I no longer saw a man humiliated by lies. I saw a man who had fought back, who had refused to be erased. And in the end, that was enough.